Cool. That's a pretty wild story.
I'm very sweaty. I just got back from hot yoga.
I think that's awesome, BJ. So I'm glad that I can't smell you then.
Don't raise your arms.
Yeah.
I smell fine. It's just that if you see me sweating, it's the impact of just getting out of a hot yoga class. It's awesome. Highly recommended.
They have hot yoga up in rural upstate New York. Is that where you're at?
Yeah. Yes, I'm in Kingston, upstate New York.
They have hot yoga
Kingston. Yeah, Kingston was originally supposed to be the capital, I think, and then they moved it to New York. Yeah.
Wait, the capital isn't New York. It's I think it's Albany, isn't it? Isn't it Albany?
Oh yeah, Albany. Yeah. I think, you're right. It's
See, how do I know that? Well, because I'm an American. Well, you're an American citizen too. Well, no, you have a green card, or what is it? You have your citizenship. You should have passed.
Yes, I'm an American.
They didn't make you pass that test, VJ. You should know this better than I should.
Yeah, they are letting anyone in now.
I did have to take a civic test and had to know about other aspects.
Dominic, they give the passport to anyone.
They're loosey goosey with their standards now, man. So back to the hot yoga. The hot yoga is dude. I used to do hot yoga pretty consistently. So
I never did that. Cool?
Oh yeah, I did back in high school pretty consistently.
It's legit.
Wow.
It's a hell of a workout. I remember my legs would be sore for days. Like my hamstrings would just be like shot for days.
Yeah, it's important to stretch.
That too. What up, everybody? Welcome back.
Bit.
Mariano, you seem to have like a different hairdo every single time we do this.
Yeah, because I tied it up and I didn't.
You got like a man bun?
Yeah, I got like a man bun.
Is that your guitar in the background? Can you play?
No, it's just for decoration and for the girls.
Okay.
Is the sword for the girls too? Are you like some kind of like crazy?
No, the sword's for myself. One night I'm gonna be like watch the crypto prices and like harakiri.
You got a sword and I got a sword, right?
Dominic, that looks weird.
It is very weird. It was a recommendation from Michael.
It could be like the Ninja Turtles.
So
Michael, what are you using in your hand?
Yeah.
Let's see which one is bigger.
Oh, mine's bigger. Okay, mine is much bigger.
Yeah,
what's that for, Michael?
I press things.
Oh yeah.
What's
Michael,
it called? Myofascial release.
It says I sent you the website before. Myofascialreleaser.com. They got all these metal tools. You got to get the teardrop like stick for your leg, and it has like a teardrop shape, and so it's smooth on one side and like sharp on the other.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I gotta get that.
I'm
on a knot right now, just so if I wince, that's why. So what is up, everybody? How's everybody's week been? Good.
Good.
Everybody good? Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Got back from New York. Been catching up.
Yes. So we're gonna dive into. You guys are there for a conference, right? So Mainnet was in New York this weekend?
I actually didn't go to Mainnet, but I think VJ did.
VJ did, right? So we're gonna dive in and get some of VJ's top takeaways here. But before that, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give us some comments, give us some feedback down below. And with that, we're gonna dive into our first topic, guys, with a couple that mistakenly sent 10.5 million. They were sent.
Yeah, the headline is written like shit. Yeah.
That's like Cointelegraph. We gotta come on. We gotta figure something out here. So, but a couple was mistakenly sent $10.5 million by Crypto.com, and they're gonna actually face a plea hearing because of that. And BJ, I know you would like to be the one that would pronounce this gentleman's name.
It's actually a lady, Deva Manogari Manivel, right?
See, I would have never even known. I don't. Yeah, non-binary.
So what happened was that actually they received the money in something like February or March, right? And naturally, like anyone would fantasize, they spend it. They didn't return it, right? And when Crypto.com did the final audit, I think in December, they found out about this, and it was like a huge problem because they spent the money, right? What the couple claims is that they thought they won like a contest, like a competition, and that was money from that competition because they received like an email that was like that. But yeah, the judge didn't fully bought it and sentenced the wife of the couple to 18 months in, I'm not sure if it's in jail or if it's like supervision or something like that, but they didn't get away hands-free, right? And they also had to sell one of their houses that was worth around 1 million, but the rest of the money is kind of gone. The couple say that they transfer like 4 or 5 million to like an offshore account. So likely Crypto.com will not see its full payment. And to be fair, I don't know, like 10 million for 18 months of jail. I mean, I would kind of do it.
Yeah, it's a fair deal.
Yeah,
it's a fair deal.
Yeah, I'm totally doing it. I mean, it looks like the couple had, they bought 4 houses, vehicles, and other items, as well as sending around 4 million Australian dollars to a Malaysian bank account, right? One of the houses, a 5-bedroom property in Craigieburn, I have no idea where that's at, worth about $1.35 million, which was ordered by the court to be sold and the funds returned. So yeah,
I remember reading about this like a year or so ago, a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
crazy that it came to a resolution like this.
It came like this. I think it's still a pretty favorable resolution, especially for the for the husband. Like so far, he hasn't gotten any jail time. The wife did it all so far. I think this guy is probably a genius.
Yeah, so it looks like they pleaded guilty to recklessly dealing with the proceeds of the crime. She was sentenced to 18 months community corrections order, which includes 6 months of intensive compliance and unpaid community work after she had already spent 209 days in custody. So she did spend almost a year in custody, and then he looks like has to face a plea trial. So, but yeah, dude, I'm totally with you, Mariano. Hey, 18 months for 10 million, or even if you got 5 million or 4 million.
That's good. Yeah. You get fit, in jail. It's like a summer camp, right? They even feed you. You don't have to do anything.
Totally. You get free room and board while you're there.
I was thinking like one strategy that you could do, if let's say, Dominic, you could receive like $10 million, right? Yep. In crypto, stake it, just stake it, earn the yield of the $10 million. And if they ever ask for it, return it, like legally return it. You didn't do anything wrong. Just like, oh my God, I didn't notice, and just keep the yield.
Just do what the banks do to you.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Just be a bank, right?
Just be a bank.
You just be a bank, Be a banker. Put your banker pants on. Stake some, stake your crypto. Collect that fat yield. Give them back their principal and say thank you very much, right? I'm with you, dude. Well, the next story, I know many of you guys know our boy, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad, Poor Dad fame. He actually advises now buying Bitcoin today. He foresees a rush to buy BTC as stocks, bonds, and real estate crash. And he's a real estate guy. I think it should be noted that he's very much, he's made his wealth and retained a lot of his wealth through real estate. So I'm sure everybody is mostly familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, the book, famous book that sold 30, 40, 50 million copies, whatever it is. He's advised investors to buy Bitcoin today before stock, bond, and real estate markets crash, and people rush to buy Bitcoin alongside gold and silver. The famous author has predicted that Bitcoin's price will reach $500,000 by 2025, with gold soaring to $5,000 and silver reaching $500. However, he anticipates Bitcoin reaching $1 million in the event of a global economic collapse. Wow. I mean, this isn't really news to me because I've been following Robert for quite some time. I'm actually, the guy works out at my gym. He lives like 5 miles from me. So I see him from time to time. Yeah, he's always walking around with headphones on so nobody bothers him. So he's not exactly too talkative or conversational. But Yeah, no, I mean, I've listened to several of his podcasts over the last, call it, month or year to 2 years, and he's now become a Bitcoin and crypto bull. I would say he's a little bit, he's quite on the pessimistic side of the spectrum. Of if you're looking at the economy, you know, all hell's gonna break loose, or everything's perfectly fine. I think he's very close to the all hell's gonna break loose camp, and so, you know, it doesn't surprise me that he's saying go all in on Bitcoin at the moment.
Yeah, I would characterize him as a perma bear, right? He has always been kind of negative on the economy. And even during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember hearing an interview from him, and he was saying the economy is going to crash. But what did the Fed do? They started the money printer going, and price of all assets, you know, including stock market, real estate, Bitcoin, everything went up because the money printer got turned on. I do think that the money printer is going to get turned on pretty soon. Because if you look at the macro climate, the US spends the most amount in military, in defense spending compared to the next 10 countries put together, right? You put together China, India, UK, all the other countries, the top 10 countries put together, US spend more than all the top 10 countries put together. Now at interest rate at 5.25%, the US is paying more in interest payments than what they are spending in defense spending. This is not sustainable. What is the solution? Turn on the money printer. I do think that by next year, we're going to have the money printer back on. Else it's not feasible for the US government to pay its debt obligations. So I do think that we have seen the end of the bear market. And can go into various reasons why we have seen the end of the bear market. If you look at the prices, it may not look like the bear market is ending. If you look at the price and see what's happening with the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoins, it doesn't reflect the end of the bear market. But that's how bear market typically ends. No one knows that. There is no signal saying that, okay, the bear market officially ended. I do believe that we have crossed the phase. So I agree that it's a good time to be considering entering into the crypto space if you have been sitting in the sideline. But I would take what Robert Kiyosaki says with a grain of salt.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. Guys, what do you guys think? Michael, Mariano, you're muted.
I mean, I agree with BJ. There are many indicators, but the one that I'm liking the most now, and it's one that I invented, is that usually what happens is contrary to what like people are expecting to happen, right? So if you see a lot of people saying like buy, it's gonna rocket soon, usually it goes the other way around, and vice versa.
So you're in the camp. You're in the camp with BJ in some that you believe that now is a good time for, if people got dry powder, to start allocating to the market in general. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
No, I mean I say that on the long term, sure, it will be a good investment, right? But I would stay away from like this type of advertisements, you know, that he did, like, oh, it's gonna reach like 100,000, 500,000 soon, right? Because usually the opposite happens, in my opinion.
Yep, always. It's a good idea to dollar cost average, regardless of what people say, or like, you know, you need to enter it today. Dollar cost average over the next 10 weeks or so. There is plenty of time to get in.
Not financial advice, of course, right? Got to throw the disclaimer down, right? Michael, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I remember when the lockdown happened, and it was like everyone was so fearful. Everyone was holding on to their money, and I was like, "This is it. This is the start of the bull run." So excited. So yeah, you know, all I've been hearing for the last few weeks is like doom and gloom. And I think it's time to do exactly what VJ was just saying. You know, dollar cost average. It's a great time to be buying. Great time to be starting to get in and thinking about things again.
You know, VJ, you brought up something I think is interesting. It made me think of this tweet that Eric Voorhees just tweeted literally maybe a few hours ago, and that is that for every 10 basis points, if we can get that shown, share the screen. Every 10 basis points or 0.1% that this number rises. In other words, the 10-year treasury yield, right? So you got the 10-year treasury yield, which it rose, 2.3%. It looks, is that a daily chart? I don't know if that's per this day, but essentially the 10-year note is at 4.54. Every 10% that this number rises means that $30 billion per year in additional interest expense for the federal government.
Wow.
That's pretty remarkable. And then Eric goes on to give some additional context here, saying, according to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. So,
Dominic, you just sounded like the movie from The Big Short. They said like a very similar phrase. Remember, like it says every time inflation raises, no, unemployment raises by 1%, like 10,000 people kill themselves or something like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's really sad that we are that. I mean, it's the way the system works, right? We like, to VJ's point, we have to print money. The entire financial architecture of our system works by printing money. You can't just stop printing money because you're not creating enough principal and interest to cover all of the debt for the money that gets printed, right? You're creating enough for the principal, but you have to continue. It's this, you know, mouse wheel that you're on, that there's just no end in sight, right? And so, you know, but I think that this is really interesting that Eric showed here is that 0.1%, right, on a 10-year note, that raises our interest expense. Like, imagine, like, think about that for a second. Like, imagine if all of a sudden, you know, this goes up 10% a month, and the average American ordinary citizen, you know, your mortgage price. Now, your mortgage is fixed, understand that, right? Even though your mortgage is tied to this 10-year note. So that's going to have a huge impact on mortgage rates going forward, right? But imagine if your mortgage went up 10% every month. That, like, you just, it's unsustainable. But that's what's going on with the federal government, right? Our debt payments are unsustainable, especially as this rate, by the way, this 10-year note is not controlled by the Fed. The Fed does not influence, I guess they can try to influence it through market dynamics, but they do not directly influence it. They do not directly control the 10-year note. That is directed by the bond market, right? So just a wild and crazy statistic that I saw here that I wanted to share with everybody, but pretty profound stuff. So on to more crypto related subject, the decentralized exchange Mixin Kernel, which raise the hands for those of you that have heard that for the first time today. That's right here. So the first time I've heard of Mixin Kernel. They confirmed a hack on its platform involving approximately $200 million, and I think that's the most significant part is the amount. So Mixin Kernel confirmed on today that it was the victim of a hacking attack, which had resulted in the loss of assets on Mainnet. The DEX said it has since suspended deposit withdrawal services, only expects to restore normal services once a probe into the incident is completed. So it looks like the attack, which occurred 2 days earlier, involved funds worth approximately $200 million, as said on Twitter or said on X. It's suspended deposit withdrawal services on the Mixin network, but sought assistance from Google and the blockchain security from SlowMist. So it looks like, yeah, the Mixin network cloud service provider database was attacked. The amount involved was $200 million. SlowMist is assisting in the investigation. Wow. Well, this is a DEX, mind you guys, that this has occurred with. So what do you guys think about this? And have you even heard of Mixin Kernel? I know, Mariano, you probably have.
No, I have no idea. But I'm just really surprised that like this amount of hacks that are this big, like, continue to happen. One would thought that, you know, these big hackings were at the beginning when people were figuring out how to write smart contracts, and there were a lot of vulnerabilities that were out there, right? one would think that now that's taken more care of, but no, like every single time every month there's like a big hack happening, and there is no way to prevent them, really. That's what it looked like. And I really like this reflection that Ethereum and overall the DeFi space is like a black forest, meaning that there is, in this forest, there is someone looking at you all the time, waiting for you to make a mistake. And if there is an opportunity for them to like take all your money, it will happen. Like someone is waiting for you to make that transaction, to execute that smart contract or something, and it's 100% sure that it will happen.
Michael, VJ, you guys got anything to add on this?
It's interesting to look at what actually happened. What Mixin Network says is that one of their cloud service provider, the database got hacked, right? So probably they also mentioned that they have reached out to Google. So I'm guessing Google is the cloud service provider. What I think would have happened is that they used some kind of backend services and did not use proper security protocol for those services, and that's how the hack happened. Typically, you have centralized exchanges getting hacked because of lack of security. Decentralized exchanges, you don't see the same level of hacks, meaning that the smart contracts are well audited. If you use the smart contract that something like Uniswap uses, then it has, plenty of people have looked at it. There has been security audits around it. And in this particular case, it didn't look like the hack happened because of a bug or mistake in the smart contract itself, but something happened in the backend security services. So that's how this hack happened. So it's important to understand what actually happened. It also serves as a reminder that there is the quest for security and trust in cryptocurrency continues, right? People are getting hacked in centralized exchanges. People are getting hacked in decentralized exchanges. So what are normal folks supposed to do if you use an exchange like Mixin Kernel? So we need to have more security and have clear path for how people should navigate the space.
Yeah, Vijay, it's very interesting what you mentioned, that recently, I think last week or in the last 2 weeks, there was a decentralized exchange. I don't remember if it was Uniswap or Balancer, that they got hacked, but their smart contract didn't get hacked. What happened was that someone gained access, I think, to the Git repository, and they pushed a version that was the domain of Uniswap, right? It was official, but that had like a different, when you clicked on make the transaction, it was like a different smart contract, right? So if you analyze it, like their smart contract was totally fine. The Uniswap or Balancer page was totally legit, but the contract that you would click on was the one that was like tricky, right? So like, how much attention do you need to be like paying when you're doing like a normal transaction on a web page that you trust, which is Uniswap, right? And you would not suspect anything wrong about that, but still, like that made me, when I read the news, I was super like scared now, up to the point that I'm manually reading the smart contract address whenever I'm doing like a swap transaction now. I established it as a new security rule.
Well, and we're not done with the hack news, guys, because the next news out of the gate is Tron founder Justin Sun says HCX, formerly Wobi, they've been hacked and lost with a loss of 5,000 ETH. So according to several posts on the social media platform X, let's see, HCX, formerly Wobi, I actually used it when it was known as Wobi. It was hacked for 5,000 ETH. Despite the loss, Sun contends that user funds on the exchange are safe and the platform is operating completely normally. I think that's kind of what you're supposed to say. You probably don't want to say anything besides that. So Justin Sun, founder of Tron and advisor of the exchange, took to the social media platform on X. ACX has suffered a loss of 5,000 ETH, worth around 8 million. So not quite as much. When I say not quite as much, not even in the same ballpark. But ACX was fully covered the losses incurred from the attack and has successfully resolved all related issues. All user assets are safe, and the platform is operating completely normally. So now, I mean, the debate is always sex, you know, centralized exchange or DEX, decentralized exchange. And obviously we want to promote decentralized exchanges, even in lieu of the fact that the topic we just covered was a decentralized exchange, in fact, getting hacked. However, your funds are much, much more likely from a probabilistic standpoint to be much more secure on when you self-custody and you use a decentralized exchange rather than just leaving your assets custodied on a centralized exchange. So I think that's pretty safe to say that you're probabilistically going to be better off using a decentralized exchange with a hardware wallet, you know, MetaMask, all that kind of stuff. So what do you guys think about this this topic overall, though?
Dominic, I think it could be interesting to get some data. I used to think like you, but I think like the average person in the crypto space that is more or less new about and doesn't know all the scams is actually safer on a centralized exchange than holding tokens by themselves. But I have no data over that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same
if you look
thing.
at,
go for it.
That unless you hold funds in FTX, right? By the way, I think Huobi is a great name. I don't know who did the branding as HTX. HTX is so close to FTX, and we all know the way that FTX went. You know, the person did the rebranding for Huobi needs to be fired. Who would want to rebrand as HTX? But having said that, yeah, we need to look at the data for how much funds were lost in centralized exchanges versus decentralized exchange, and have to normalize it, right? Because we cannot just look at the overall dollar amount. It has to be normalized based on the activity, because decentralized exchanges don't have the same level of activity as centralized exchanges.
Michael, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and when you lose your money on a centralized exchange, it takes like 10 years to get it back. Like look at Mt. Gox and people from FTX, it's going to take forever. I've seen cases where on decentralized exchanges, like once they sorted it out, they were able to pay people back, and at least that happens a little bit quicker in some cases in the span of months instead of years, if you're going to get anything back at all.
Well, actually, that's funny you mentioned that, Michael. I have a friend of mine who lost, unfortunately, he was the victim of a 6-figure loss with Voyager. And that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that might have been right at a year ago. So maybe 10 months. I want to say it was close to 12 months ago. I think he just sent me a picture of the check that he got back from them. So he got it. Nice. But yeah, he just, I mean, that's pretty, that seemed to me like fast. Right? That it was, 10, 12 months, because you're right. Normally it's years. You're going to wait through all the proceedings. You got to wait for, the reconciliation, all that stuff. You got to wait for the attorneys to collect their fees and rack up large bills. So I was pretty surprised by that, but generally it's going to take on the order of years.
Yeah. Ultimately I agree with Mariano though. Like you gotta, we have enough trouble tripping over our keys. Mariano talked about the issue he had even last week. Like, how are a bunch of normal people going to handle like their own keys? Like, a lot of people are better off in a centralized exchange. Just don't put all their money in one of them. Just sign up to a few, mix it around. If one goes under, you might wait a few years to get your money, but at least you're still able to operate.
Yeah, I guess I've kind of softened on that view as well a little bit. Is that if someone's not willing to go the extra step to dedicate towards understanding what self-custody is and really understanding it before they jump in that deep end of the pool, they should absolutely just have their assets on a centralized exchange. I wouldn't also put a lot of money on that centralized exchange with this belief of trust that's there, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's FDIC insured, whether it's whatever sorts of assurances there are. I still wouldn't recommend, taking out the HELOC on your home, taking every dime that you have and go putting it on SHIB and then putting it on your Coinbase account. Probably not the best allocation of resources. So anybody else? No? Did we beat this horse dead? Is the horse dead? All right. Well, so on the bright side, so we've given you enough negative news, right? Hey, all the landmines over here. There's actually been a leak that revealed that Microsoft could be about to blow up the price of Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and BNB. I don't know about XRP, but sure. Bitcoin and other major cryptocurrencies, including Ether, XRP, and BNB, are trading sideways as the market braces for a fast-growing $17.7 trillion Wall Street earthquake. The Bitcoin price has collapsed since the Federal Reserve began its tightening cycle, which we are very intimately familiar with. Let's see, and could now be heading to further Fed pain, potentially weighing on the wider trillion dollar Ethereum, XRP, BNB, and crypto market. Now, as a surprise Bitcoin flip primes traders for an Elon Musk bombshell, a shock leak has revealed tech giant Microsoft is planning to add crypto support to its next Xbox. All right.
Cool.
What do you,
okay, so such a clickbaity title. And if you look at the actual article, not until the third paragraph is the real content, right? The real thing that's happening is that Microsoft is going to be adding a crypto wallet to Xbox games. And we do think that the way in which crypto gets a wider adoption is in one of two ways. Number one is through gaming. Gamers already are familiar with it, familiar with having different digital assets, and they want to be able to own their digital assets. And number two is through tokenization, which we will talk about. This is really good because Xbox is thinking about adding a crypto wallet, but such a clickbaity title, you don't even know what the actual news is. And it's like, oh, the price is gonna go up, and Elon Musk is doing something. And the third paragraph, you find out that it's Xbox adding a crypto wallet.
And that came from Forbes, right? That was a Forbes article. Which, come on, Forbes, you need to pay your journalists better if you want to attract better talent. Because, dude, you're right. That was a horrible headline. So Forbes, reach out to us, and we'll send you a consulting fee invoice for how to write a better headline. So nevertheless, yeah, I think it's obviously as poorly titled as it is. You're right, though, as far as the whole thesis is concerned, BJ, which is, right, gaming is going to be a significant thing going forward. And how does that, who's, Xbox being the number one or number two gaming device out there, gaming console out there. Sorry, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know the terminology here. However, I do know that, there's a lot of cross collateral here. So the gamers are typically invested or interested in crypto. That generation, there's a lot of overlap. So being able to adding a crypto wallet inside this ecosystem makes a ton of sense. And it's just onboarding the next, wave of crypto investors. So again, very bullish information, but being dropped in a macro headwind market kind of that we have right now. It's big nothing burger as far as the price is concerned, but it's very bullish as far as if you're looking, years down the road. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. Xbox, super fun. I just wonder how it's going to manifest. Like, are they just going to be doing NFTs? Are they going to let people trade cryptos? Like, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, so I'm really curious.
Yeah, is it a digital wallet, or is it a self-custody wallet? I don't expect it to be that. I wouldn't expect it to be that. Knowing Microsoft, they're going to want to probably control things and custody things. But yeah, Michael, that's a good point, man. Bullish, but Mike or Mariano, you're quite the gamer. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. I never played on Xbox, but yeah, no, I don't think too much to add. Steam had that functionality like 5 years ago. Steam probably sells more games than Xbox. And I'm not sure how many people use it. I personally used it because it helped me evade taxes in Argentina if I purchase with crypto. But yeah, overall,
Mariano, you mean tax optimization? Tax evasion is a crime.
Yes, evasion is legal. Optimization is legal.
Yeah. So yeah, you mean tax optimization, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we don't want Mario in handcuffs in the country of Argentina.
I'm already wearing, the uniform, the striped uniform.
You actually already are. I was going to say you look like you got it going. So,
are you actually broadcasting from prison, or are you?
So I gotta unpack a little bit more of what you said there, Mariano. So you said Steam has sold more games, or Steam games sold more games. Okay, I'm not familiar with.
No, not sold. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that's news to me as a non-gamer.
Are you familiar with Steam? You know what Steam is?
No.
So Steam is the largest game publisher in the world, and they primarily work for computer, right? So you probably all your favorite computer games are being sold on Steam right now. So yeah, that's the thing. Oh, shout out to Steam. So Steam has a very weird thing that there are certain games which the prices of the games are not actually decided by the person that sells the game. So if you, Dominic, if you want to sell one of your games on Steam, there are certain games that there is like a universal price that it changes based on the purchasing power of each country. What this means is that for the United States, since they have a considerable purchasing power, the games are quite expensive, right? They are like, I don't know, $20, $30, right? In Argentina, usually they're like $1.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I heard like in Cuba, they were like 3 cents or something like that. So they have like this subjective pricing that they change based on.
I didn't know that about Steam. That's pretty awesome.
Neither did I. Yeah,
Steam also has like aside from games, like pretty popular apps like Blender, which is like 3D modeling software, and other applications like that. They host.
So if you're a gamer, you have to move to Cuba to get some cheap games, right?
Yeah. Can you just VPN in, or what's the deal?
Probably you can get that through the internet.
Gotta love communism, right? So, anyways, next topic. VJ, I know that you wanted to touch on this because this is a report by KPMG, right? Which is one of the big 3 auditing firms, or big 4. Can't remember if it's 3 or 4. But essentially, this came out, it covers fintech as it relates to blockchain and cryptocurrency, and it tracks the funding in crypto and blockchain, which, as you can see, this graph has kind of fallen back to earth in the first half of this year. You want to kind of unpack what this slide is showing here?
Yeah, so KPMG, they released a report as to what's happening in the entire fintech market for the first half of the year. So from January to June of this year. And they touch various aspects like what's happening globally, what's happening in the payment space, what's happening in the insurance space, what's happening with cybersecurity. There is also wealth tech, which is like managing people's wealth, and also what's happening with blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So for people who are interested in it, it's a great report. Highly recommend going and reading through the report for various aspects. But for our case, we're going to focus specifically on the blockchain and cryptocurrency area. So if you look at the graph, back in 2021, almost 30 billion, I think 30 billion is the amount of funding that was raised. across the various projects. And then 2022 was a slight drop down, about 25 billion or so. And then 2023 so far this year is 4 billion, right? It's a huge drop. And if you look at the deal count, it went from 1,957 in 2021 to 1,880. So almost same in terms of the number of deals, but the total dollar amount decreased. And but so far this year is less than half. And the drop is because of a couple of things, right? One is the entire global market itself is down, but specifically they mention about the regulatory challenges, where the SEC took a very strong stance and suing Coinbase, Binance, and the SEC lost a case against Ripple, and also with the GBTC, the Bitcoin Grayscale Trust. So all of the regulatory side is one issue. The other issue is the decline in the overall global financial market. But overall, I think it's a good report to understand what's happening from an investment perspective globally. And we'll put the link in the show notes below. So if you guys want to look at other areas, that will be a good report to look at.
So we'll unpack a little bit more of this. What does this mean going forward, Vijay? So, I mean, obviously deal flow has fallen off a cliff, both in number of deals and also in dollar amounts. And, you mentioned the regulatory aspect of it, SEC, I'm sure Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX's debacle didn't help matters much. Sure that kind of really stymied some appetite. But what does this mean going forward, right? Do you see this as continuing a trend, or is this kind of like, is this as bad as it's going to get?
Yeah, two aspects. One is what's happening in the macroeconomic climate, because cryptocurrency, it's a micro in the global macro, right? If you think of the global financial industry as an ocean, crypto is a small bay. So what's happening in the global market impacts crypto. And at the same time, there are two funds in Messari. There were two funds that were launched. One was Electric Capital. They announced a launch of a $300 million fund. And I think Multichain was another fund that they also launched their next fund. So you see people who have been in the industry multiple times, they can see the cycle of how the ebb and flow of crypto prices. And at the same time, the number of people who are using it keeps increasing. And that is the number of active wallet addresses has always been increasing. It's to the up and to the right. Technology never stops. The price action is almost like a secondary game to the primary game. The primary game is about adoption, and we are seeing adoption continue to increase, but price is not increasing. Why is that, right? The price is decoupled from adoption, and crypto is a very unique market, unlike any other market that we have seen in our life before, because usually smart money comes in to any industry first, and then you have the retail money who comes in next, smart money or institutional money that comes in. And crypto is unique in the sense that retail money has come into it first, and we don't have the institutional money or investor money who has come in to the same extent yet. And we're going to continue seeing that the cycle of prices having huge amount of volatility until we get institutional money coming in. And there are plenty of on-ramps for institutional money that is going to be coming in, which we'll talk about when we address the key takeaways from Mainnet.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Michael, Mariano, anything you want to touch here?
No, nothing that I want to add.
Okay. Well, we got to touch our weekly MicroStrategy / Michael Saylor topic. which is MicroStrategy just announced that they bought another 5,445 Bitcoin. I just think that they wanted to kind of, do a round number, even though it's not a round number, but, a mirror image number. 5,445 Bitcoin for $150 million. Now, this is since August. So, just within the last month. Software company. Okay, CoinDesk, you guys got a better, let's kind of fix that, shall we? Software company now holds nearly 4.68 billion worth of the largest cryptocurrency by market cap. So I think he might safe to say that he's not doubling or tripling or quadrupling down, but maybe he's quintupling down on his strategy. So MicroStrategy purchased nearly 150 million worth of Bitcoin between August 1st and September 24th. Dang, that's only what, 7 weeks? That's a lot. MicroStrategy, together with subsidiaries, acquired approximately 5,445 Bitcoins for approximately 147 million in cash, an average price of approximately 27 grand. Let's see. Now they hold their total holdings 158,000 Bitcoin, which were acquired at an aggregate purchase price of approximately 4.68 billion.
That's insane.
Woo, baby. Well, he's either going to be. He's either going to be the wealthiest man in the world, or he's going to be a pauper. It's one or the other, right? Like, I mean, dude,
I think it's still amazing, right? It's like what he's doing. It's the conviction that this guy must have. I think it's something to applaud. Really, it's super cool.
Mariano, I can't disagree with you there. I actually agree with you. It's man, when you have a conviction, you go all in, right? Now, from his vantage point, him being a billionaire, I mean, this is like, if this doesn't work, I don't see a way in which he walks back from this and unwinds it. I just don't. In other words, I don't see him surviving financially if all of a sudden Bitcoin just poof goes up in smoke, right? So, man,
I disagree.
Sorry.
You disagree, VJ? Let's hear it.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because when he's CEO of a publicly traded company, and in order to get to that level, you have to have a lot of other skills that people are looking for, like leadership skills, communication skills, all of the other factors. And he's going to have that regardless of what happens to the price of Bitcoin. If you look at the CEO of SoftBank, Masayoshi Son, he's the person to have lost the most amount of money in the history, right? He lost like $66 billion or something like that in the dot-com crash. And a few years later, right, he launched the SoftBank Vision Fund and raised a few $1 billion again on it, and has now invested in so many other companies. So I do not believe that because of something happening to the price of Bitcoin, he is toast. What matters is the skill set that you have, the skill set that Michael has developed, the leadership, the communication, the conviction that he has had. He will be able to translate it to other areas, and he was going to be successful, because what matters is the skill set and not whether he made a right call on this or not. Even though I do believe, we all here in BitBrain podcast, we believe in the potential of Bitcoin and do believe that he's going to be doing well. But at the same time, for some unknown reason, if Bitcoin collapses, I think Michael will have some other project or some other thing that he will be able to come back and much better and stronger.
Yeah.
Well, he does still own hope.com. So he could always ransom hope.com to the highest bidder. Maybe Elon will pay him a couple bill for it. But I think I get your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's a legend, and he's incredibly articulate. So yeah,
he is.
Not worried about him.
Yeah, no, I'm not terribly worried about it either. I'm astonished at the degree of conviction. Like it's profound. It's actually very admirable. I love it.
Yeah.
And we got a chance, VJ. We saw him at the Platinum Finance a couple of years ago speak, and he very much, kind of saw him live, not behind the Zoom screen, and he's as convicted on stage as he is behind a Zoom screen. I mean, he is a pretty it's hard to find more perma bulls on Bitcoin than Michael Saylor, and I think he's been a great net positive for the space. And obviously, he's pretty much taking any additional supply off the market. So we like that, of course. So
I do not. I mean, I do. I don't agree with his view on being a Bitcoin maxi, right? He is against all other chains, which I don't think so. That there is only going to be one chain and it's going to be Bitcoin. It did not happen on the internet, right? There was not one company. It's like saying, okay, Google is going to be the be all and end all for internet, right? That was not the case. You have Google, you have Facebook, you have Amazon, you have Netflix. You have so many other companies that used internet to launch multi-billion-dollar businesses. Similarly, I do believe that there are many companies that are going to be launching multi-billion-dollar business in the blockchain space, and Bitcoin is one of them in the financial space. However, everything from the way we learn, from the way we interact in society, from our identity, from the way we vote, from how we operate our society is going to change, and all of them are not going to be on Bitcoin. They're going to be on multiple chains. I disagree with Michael Saylor on being a Bitcoin maxi rather than a blockchain maxi. I don't even think that I am personally a blockchain maxi. There are plenty of applications that doesn't need blockchain at all. And however, there are specific classes of application where blockchain will make it 10x more efficient than the current way of doing things.
Yeah, really, Michael is just lazy.
I think it would be quite funny. I know this is
yeah,
impossible, but if he has such a big concentration of Bitcoin that if he loses the access key, that could be a catalyst for the price to go up, because we just taken more than 100,000 Bitcoins out of circulation forever. And yeah, it could be quite funny. I know it's impossible because I'm sure he holds it in multiple wallets and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those got to be multi-sig wallets, right? I mean, I guarantee you that he's not the only signer on those wallets.
Yeah, and it's almost 1% of supply, right? So he holds 1% of supply, and for whatever reason, if he has to sell, that's going to have a big impact on the price of Bitcoin. The rough rule of thumb is for every $100 million of new money coming in, the price of Bitcoin increases by 10%, right? So it also decreases by 10% for every $100 million of money leaving the market. So for whatever reason, if Michael had to, and MicroStrategy had to sell all $4 billion of their Bitcoin holding, it's going to drastically crash the price of Bitcoin.
Which, let's just hope it doesn't come to that, my man. So, VJ, we want to kind of tie things up with the Masari crypto conference that you attended, and I know that there were some takeaways that you had from that that conference. I heard some great things about the conference, but let's start with maybe, I think there was a tokenization panel that was talked about, right? And we've talked about tokenization before on the BitBrain podcast with real world assets, things like that. So what can you tell us about what were maybe some of the highlights on that panel specifically?
So 3 things that I want to address. One is tokenization, second is Bitcoin ETF, and the third one is Coinbase's effort around regulations. So let's unpack them one by one. First is tokenization. Boston Consulting Group, they came out with a report. This is a while ago, maybe sometime last year. They estimate that tokenization will be a $16 trillion industry by 2030, right? So we have another 7 years or so. And that is huge. And if you look at what a lot of these companies are doing, specifically, there was this guy, Chris Jensen from Franklin Templeton, who was on the panel. He was talking about how they have tokenized US treasuries. There is a fund. The name of the fund is called On-Chain Fund. An On-Chain Fund, what they do is that they have tokenized US treasuries using Stellar and Polygon blockchain. And that fund is now actively traded. They have gone through all the regulatory side of things. Phenomenal. They have about 300 million AUM for that particular fund. And in addition to that, Franklin Templeton, they also mentioned that they are running nodes on 10 different chains. They understand the power of staking. They are staking on Ethereum and other chains. So Franklin Templeton is really looking into the crypto space. And an interesting point that Chris mentioned was that by tokenizing the US Treasury, they were able to reduce their cost not by 10%, by 10 times. It's a 10 times reduction in cost than doing the traditional way, right? It's incredible if you go to a Wall Street firm and then say, hey, you do all your funds like how you are doing now, but in the back end, let's tokenize it. Let's make sure that you can trade as a token and you get to keep the same fee, but it's going to cost you 10 times lesser. That's a great value proposition. Chris Jensen from Franklin Templeton was talking about that. I think that is a huge benefit because we've always been thinking about how do we get the on-ramp, right? And the on-ramp, as we talked about, with so many hacks that are happening in centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges, the way that consumers are going to get access to it is through tokenization, right? In which all the technology is masked, and companies like Franklin Templeton, they can save 10 times the amount of money in fees. That is a great value proposition. And because of that, Franklin Templeton, we might have seen it earlier this month. They also launched, or they filed and applied for a Bitcoin ETF. So that brings us to the second point, is there are 8 different ETF applications for Bitcoin right now. I think the deadline is October 7th or 17th. I don't remember. Most likely they're going to postpone the date. So the exact date doesn't matter. And Franklin Templeton also joined that train, so to speak, of Bitcoin ETFs. And there is a possibility, Mike Novogratz, he was on another panel, and he was talking about how there is a potential for all 8 of them to be accepted on the same day, right? And I don't think something like that would happen. But if something like that happens, each has an interest of, say, maybe like $1 billion or so, give or take. If 8 ETFs gets approved, we're going to see $8 billion of interest come into the market on one day, which I cannot imagine what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin if $8 billion of money comes in. And in my mind, we have talked about it before, Bitcoin ETF is a matter of when, not if, right? It is going to happen. Bitcoin ETF is going to happen, guaranteed. But we don't know when that's going to happen. The SEC might delay it maybe a couple more times. And once we have Bitcoin ETF, we're going to have Ethereum ETF, and other altcoin ETF, and maybe even a meme ETF. So that is the second big takeaway, is that most people are not aware of all the ETF applications that have been coming on, and the amount of effort that's happening behind the scene to get the Bitcoin ETFs approved. And lastly is on the regulation side of things. Coinbase mentioned about this particular, they have launched a website. It's called Stand with Crypto. And if someone can pull up the Stand with Crypto website, what they are doing is essentially they're creating a super PAC. And the goal is to raise $100 million to lobby Washington for regulations, right? And they also have a way in which you can reach out to local politicians. You can donate using crypto. And that is kind of the strategy that other industries like pharma and other industries are using to lobby Congress for the right regulations. And now we are doing it in crypto. So if you want to reach out, go to the website Stand with Crypto. It's by Coinbase, and you can find who your local representative is, and they have a ranking for each representative, whether they are pro-crypto, anti-crypto, where do they stand. They have a ranking around it. So they've done a really good job on being able to map out the entire Congress and where the individual person stands. And you might be able to reach out to your representative or even be able to invest or donate using crypto.
Wow, Vijay. Well, it sounds like it was quite an interesting conference that you saw. I mean, I think of 8 different Bitcoin ETFs. Wow, all on the same day. And to your point, you mentioned like if $100 million comes in, it increases the price by like 10%, right? So that would be a pretty large order of magnitude. I know that touching politics is a very, it's not necessarily, we're not like a political podcast, but I think politics is going to be a very important thing to consider this next election cycle, at least here in the US, as it pertains to crypto. Because you have to really ask yourself, if this is something that you really believe in and you stand for, right? The first principles of how blockchain was created and what crypto is for, then you really need to take a pointed look at who is pro-crypto and who is anti-crypto as a legislator, as a congressman, as a senator. And it's incumbent on all of us to kind of put that push on our legislated representatives, because if they're not representing us, they have no business being there, right? And the first principles of crypto are for the people. It's for decentralization of power. I think I want to remind everybody about that, because that's why I got into it. Is the decentral, obviously the economic incentive is one thing, but the other thing is for the distribution of power, right? We have power centers throughout this world and throughout this country that if we don't, they are making decisions on our behalf that don't support our best interests. And so when we can distribute that power more evenly, when we can have ownership and self-custody of our own assets and have a sort of economic sovereignty and freedom, that's what this is about. And so it's important that we stand up for those purposes, for those benefits, for those ideals. And so I'm glad that at Masari Crypto at what was the name of it again? Sorry, I forgot the name of the actual conference.
Mainnet.
So at Mainnet, that he was very much promoting this, I think is a great thing. I mean, it needs to be done. It absolutely needs to be done. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it gave me actually like a little chills when Vijay, you mentioned like, what if all the ETFs get approved on the same day? Yeah, I mean, I'm super optimistic for crypto. In a way, I'm happy that I'm alive at the exact moment in human history that this is a tremendous opportunity. And yeah, I do believe that what the government is doing right now in the United States of not providing clarity of something that people want is nothing short of a criminal move in a way, right? It's really disloyal to the values and principles of what the people voted them for. So fully support this organization stands with crypto. So it looks super fun. I'm gonna donate a little bit of money, but yeah, let's get it.
As an American citizen, thank you, Mariano, for doing that. I think that's seriously, like I think that's awesome. I mean, but you also recognize the importance that if it gets completely overregulated in the United States, it's going to send the industry back decades, right?
I mean, yeah, because the United States is the money of the world, right? I think in a way, big economic movements, they are dependent on the United States for good or for bad, right? It's just what it is. You guys are the only one that have the money printing machine that goes brrrr. But if the owners of the machine say crypto is a no-go, it's going to be a really huge problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michael, you have any comments?
Nothing from me. I agree with you guys.
Awesome. Well, maybe any parting thoughts, any closing comments as we wrap up episode 12 of the BitBrain podcast?
So Mainnet was a great conference, and because of lack of time, unfortunately, we are not able to cover all of the insights from Mainnet. And I would say like Mainnet, maybe Consensus, and the Bitcoin conference yearly are great ones to attend. But if you don't have the time, would be happy to share more information about our learnings and key insights from the Mainnet conference and other conferences that we attend. We'll be sharing that in Redwoods, which is a crypto education community. If you guys are interested, reach out, and we'll happy to share information around how to join that community, where you can keep up with all the latest happenings in crypto without having to spend all the time traveling to conferences like Mainnet and other places. You get the Cliff's Note of it.
Great point, BJ. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I know that we can drop that in the show notes too. You can go to redwoodscrypto.com to get more information there. And again, as always, like, subscribe, give us some comments, give us some feedback. Let us know if there's any other topics that you want us to cover. We appreciate it. And again, have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.